What's happening, family? It's your favorite leather craftsman, the leather cowboy, right here. Premier Leather Crafters in the dirty with another quick video, real quick. And today we're talking about, if you see it right here below, I'm trying some new stuff out with the new camera and all of this kind of stuff. We changed up the backdrops and things like that. But I spent a lot of money on getting some new equipment up to make these videos a little bit more draw you guys in to the world of Premier Leather Crafters. But today we're talking about the perfect finish. And I have a question for you. Why aren't you guys focusing or putting a lot of attention into burnishing your finished products? So let's get right off into it, man. Burnishing is something that's been around for a long time. It's nothing really new, and a lot of people have put a lot of attention, like myself included. When I first started out, I used to just do a regular plain edge. So when I was doing my belts, I'll just take the existing dye because, you know, at that time, the oils that was in your dye will slick down, but it wasn't the dye that was doing the slicking. It was the friction and the heat. So, but the more I got off into leather crafting and the more you guys get off into leather crafting, you're going to understand and know that a good edge on any of your products is like the good ending story of a good book. You know, a lot of crafters, we put a lot of attention and focus into the detail of the artwork. And we're going to be taking this guitar strap because we're getting ready to finish it up. But a lot of crafters put a lot of emphasis and detail into the artwork, the tooling, and doing the antique gels and all of this stuff. And most of them forget about the edge. The edge, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is the perfect finish. It's the perfect finish. And the question is, why aren't you putting a lot of emphasis into burnishing? So let's get right off into it. First, I'm going to tell you about a lot of free products that's out there that will help make your burnishing, make your piece great. Now, we're going to start from the old school and work our way all the way back up. Old school, if you guys are familiar with this little piece right here, this is beeswax. You can create and make your own beeswax. It's very cheap, very economical, and it does the job. Plus, it gives it that old school flair of your old school crafters that goes all the way back to the horse and buggy days, the 1800s, but probably even further than that, to where leather was the prominent thing to have. I would even go all the way back until the ancient Roman times where they was really off into the leather. And beeswax, this predates gum trag, it predates edge coat, it predates all of this burnishing wax. All they had originally was the beeswax. And you can go get you a bag of beeswax beads for about $4. I mean, you can get a 2-pound bag of this stuff and just make your own wax ball. And you guys can tell I really use mine. I still, to this day, I use it. And you can tell this is from belts or whatever project that I might have been working on. Now, the reason with beeswax, let me tell you about beeswax. Beeswax, when you coat this onto the edge of your projects, the wax goes down into the fibers of the leather. So again, once you go to burnishing with whichever you have, be it an edge slicker, and I have several different kinds. This is one that I put into my drill press. And I also bought this one too. You can see that this goes into the drill press as well, depending on what project that I'm working on and the size. But I have this wood here is particularly a little bit harder wood than the soft wood that comes with your edge slickers. And you can get these. I got several. This one I primarily use if I'm just doing a small project or it's thin and I want to just put the right amount of heat onto it, but I can hold it in my hand. This one here, I want a little bit more speed, especially when I put it in the drill press, or you guys can just use a regular hand drill. Put this into the chuck of the hand drill to get that good speed on it. And that's what heats up the leather, the wax, and it marries and bonds, especially when you have more than one piece that you're trying to slick, as we do here. So we have an interior lining, and then we also have the exterior part. So the beeswax works great on projects like this because it heats up and it melts into the fibers. And you want to put that on there long enough until you stop seeing those two separate pieces of leather to where you can only see one. It's kind of like doing a good fade haircut. When you're doing your haircut, and if you know anything about haircutting, when you put that fade line in there, that first line is your bald line. And it's very distinctive when you see that line. But the more that he keeps edging and blending in that line, you start to see that line disappear. Same thing so as it is in leather. You want to just keep coming back with that wax and just keep coming down the edge of it and put it right back onto your slicker. And then you want to marry and melt that wax into it again. Now, the same thing happens with gum track. Now, gum track is a little bit more liquidy. Well, actually, it is a lot more liquidy, a lot more liquidy. And gum track works the same, but not on the initial. I don't know of a crafter that use gum track solely only. Sometimes they'll use it, me myself, sometimes I'll use it in conjunction with the wax. So, and that gum track works the same way. It just keeps heating and heating up until it marries those pieces in. Then we come all the way up, ladies and gentlemen, to your edge coat. Again, edge coat is a waxy product. Then you can apply this to the edges of your pieces, and it has wax in it already. Now, a little bit more expensive than a bag of beeswax, but it comes in the colors that you may need. Black, brown. You guys, if you shop at Tandy, you know Tandy has a whole shelf of these in different colors, and that's exactly what it is. Let me get this light off a little bit. But edge coat, and it comes, I'm going to be using brown today. Now, another one is the burnishing wax. Now, burnishing wax, now this is by Solaris. I don't think, well, and I've had this bottle for so long. To me, this is the best of the best stuff. I don't even know where you can find this at because Tandy doesn't carry it anymore. I haven't seen it on Weaver nor Springfield or any other leather wholesaler or leather supply company. I haven't seen them carry this, but I think you can buy. I've had this one for about 2 years, but and I bought this when Tandy in Chattanooga was discontinuing this. So I wound up buying all that they had left, mostly because most of my products are all brown or black. And the edge, really, you don't have to have the same color edge. You really don't. But as long as you, like if I'm doing a tan or any of the brown shades, the walnuts, the chestnuts, or any in that, the briarwood, the briar brown, I'm going to go with the brown edge. Now, black is black. It's all getting black. Even if it's a blue belt, a blue or red or any other color than brown, I'm going to go with black. I mean, black wax finishing. But I bought everything that Tandy and Chattanooga had. And I haven't been able to find this at any other Tandy. You guys know I'm a Tandy guy. So I haven't been able to find this, not even on Tandy's website. But I think you might can be able to buy this off of Amazon. If you go on Amazon, you might can find you some of this on Amazon. And this is exclusively for leather burnishing. And that's what they call it right there on the bottle, burnishing ink. This stuff right here is the bee's knees when it comes to burnishing. And it works the same. You put the slicker on there and the wax that's in it will marry and bond those edges together. And then I'll come back with a nice gum track edge. And then we can definitely mask anything on there. Now, the one thing about these burnishing waxes, do not go with the typical usual dauber, because the dauber will soak up so much of that wax. And then when you go to put it on your edge, if you are not as careful can be, the wax will bleed over onto the top or the backside of your piece. And that to me just ruins a piece, especially when you go with the thinner the leather or the thinner the pieces. You don't have such a broad surface or wide surface to apply to. So do not use a dauber. What I generally use is a popsicle stick. Yes, and you can go get you a bag of 500 popsicle sticks at Wally World for about $2. And then you can just dip that, use it like a paddle. So you can just dip that tip in there and you can stay on the edge of your piece because the edges of your piece are flat. Even if they are a little bit rounded, you still can get a nice coating on there and you can knock some of that excess off. When you pull it out of your bottles, you can just wipe some off and just stay with that nice flat edge and it doesn't bleed over onto your work. Now, before we get off into the wax, several things I want to point out to you guys real quick. And I'm not going to bore you with watching me burnish these edges, but you will be able to see the finished pieces in some of my short clips. So if you're following me on YouTube or social media, you'll be able to see the finished pieces up close with a nice camera shot of that burnished edge. So make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel so you can see photos of the finished pieces. Now, but before we get up into edging or not just burnishing, here are some tools that you might want to pick up. One, you want to pick up you a nice edge rounder. Now, Tandy sells these and they're coming 3 different sizes on Tandy. But if you're not in a city or a state to where you have access to Tandy, I'm just going to be real with you. Sorry, Tandy, but I'm just going to be real with you. Weaver has the best edgers that I have seen in the game. Now, you guys know, if you've been following me, you guys know that I am a Tandy loyalist. I've been with Tandy ever since I started in the business, ever since 1995. So I'm just loyal like that. But when it comes to being honest and choosing, I'm going to give y'all the real, and I'm going to keep it 100 with you. Weaver's edgers are the best. I love Tandy tools. I love the craft tools. I love the pro tools. But again, being honest, there's no tools on the market that I have seen better than Barry King's. Now, I only have like 1 or 2 Barry King tools. That's because that's all I can afford. But and price is not so much of a thing. But the more you get into your craft, you want your work to start reflecting the number of years and the experiences and all of this into your work. So eventually, ladies and gentlemen, you will start upgrading. Now, you can do some great things with Tandy tools, and especially if you know how to modify it, or if you have access to a good machinist. But a lot of the bevelers, I know a lot of crafters, their beveling tools are Barry King's because Barry King has those steep bevelers. His bevelers are more defined and pronounced with the prints. So, but you can do a lot as far as tools, top notch, and eventually you will get there. But my videos and my platform, I try to give you guys the best you can do with what you got till you build to that area. Now, let's get off into this. So one of the things that make a great edge, and I'm going to angle this camera down a little bit so you guys can see this a little bit. I thought you could see it. Okay, maybe you can. All right. One of the things that you want to make your edge great is, one, make sure that your edging tool is very sharp. Keep them sharp and slick. I would say get anywhere from a 1500 grit sandpaper, and you can keep that edge nice and polished. Same thing with and you can see where it's shiny on the back, as well as now the blade is like in between these 2 forks, or what's going to cut it. So you want to keep those sharp, and you want to put that onto the corner of your piece and run this down the whole entire side piece of it. And you will see when it starts cutting that corner off. Now, maybe this is because of the new camera setup that you guys can't see that, but we're going to keep right on rocking and rolling all the same. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. I can't do two things at one time. And you want to take your time and stay on that corner and just run all the way around your piece. Now, this helps round off those edges. And I'm going to show you guys where it has been cutting off. Can you see that? It does cut off the corners of the work. And not just do the top side, you want to do the bottom side as well. Because if you notice on your slickers are concave or contoured to go on that. So you want the top and the bottom to be well rounded onto your leather work. And it just makes it look very good. And you want to do the same thing to both sides. Take your time and hit that corner. Take that corner off. Now, the larger the piece, the different, or the thicker the leather, then you can adjust your edgers to the size leather that you have. And again, now I think all leather stores, or not just Tandy, but I think all of them sell the 3 different sizes. And so make sure that you get all 3. Go ahead and make that investment. Treat yourself once a year to that Christmas present and get all sizes. And we're just going to keep right on going. And just take your time with it. And then we're just going to flip this over and keep right on going. And all we're doing, ladies and gentlemen, is just taking that edge off, taking that blunt, flat surface off and making them a little bit more round. And you should be able to hear that cutting into that leather like that. That's what is key. Taking that corner off. All right. So now what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to come back with my beeswax. And I'm just going to run that down that channel on the beeswax and get as much wax into the fibers of this leather as I possibly can. And you can already see it starting to marry just from the heat of the wax. I thought that I can change that light a little bit. There we go. And we're just going to run this wax right down the side of it. Run this wax right down the side. You can feel that already. That's a little warm. And I do this on all of my leather work. It doesn't matter to me. I want all my leather pieces to have a nice edge finish to it. Because that edge finish is what's going to be, and you can see how deep that is digging into it, right? That's digging pretty deep. And you just want to stay with that. So I'm going to do one side with the wax and the other side with the burnishing ink. And then I'll show you guys the difference in the two. Now, normally I would put this on my drill press, but I'm going to show you how we do this with just the hand slicker here. And you just find the right side of groove, and you're just going to work that heat. Just going to work this heat. And what happens is the wax heats up and it starts to marry the two pieces. And that's what the heat does. Can you guys see that? Let me angle this up. Can you see that now? See, it goes from the two pieces. Well, let me flip that over. You can see that that's a distinct line where it's two pieces, to when you start to marry it, that line starts to go away. And that's what you want to do. And this is what the wax can do. So you want to put a little bit of emphasis and a little bit of time, because we spend so much time on attention to detail in our leather craft. You want to spend just as much time onto burnishing that edge and getting that edge perfect. Because when you sell that piece to somebody, when they come into your shop, when they're looking at products that you've already made, you know, a lot of people, they get caught up into the front facial part of the work. But then when they start really looking at it, you really want to be able to, and that's really want to be able to see a good edge finish to where they can't even tell that it's two pieces of leather put together. This is what we do right here at Premier Leather Crafters. I thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to get back to work. And actually, I'm going to take this into the shop and put this on the drill press and get some real speed and friction built up with the slicker that I have. Because I have one that's permanently mounted. It's more like this one. And it's permanently mounted to my drill press. Now, this is a different size from the one that's in the drill press. But you can see it has the same, pretty much the same different width as just a hand slicker. But I have the bolt in there so I can mount this to the chuck into the drill press, and I can really get some speed. And then we can just hold this in so it'll burnish and melt all the way around. All right, you guys, I'm going to get back to work. I'll see you guys on the other side. Keep crafting. This is R.D. Muhammad, the Leather Cowboy, Premier Leather Crafters. Peace. Oh, we got a question.